at the company's annual award ceremony. Just as I stepped onto the stage, my supervisor, Melissa, suddenly shoved a crumpled piece of paper into my hand. A special grand prize just for our top salesperson. Go on, open it up and show everyone. Under the expectant gazes of the entire company, I unfolded the paper. Scrolled. In messy handwriting were the words, "Clean all the company bathrooms for 3 days." The room erupted in laughter. Melissa stood with her arms crossed, a smug smirk on her face. Generous, right? After all, everyone knows your sales numbers are just dirty money. From sleeping with old men. We wouldn't want the other employees to feel like it's unfair. So while they're on vacation, you can work a little overtime. You wouldn't mind that, would you? The laughter grew louder, nearly shaking the room. My boyfriend, Dominic, the CEO, witnessed the entire thing from the side of the stage. And as usual, he didn't say a single word. In my defense, just when everyone expected me to break down in tears, I simply nodded calmly when I said I would accept the prize. A brief silence fell over the room, quickly followed by an even more ferocious wave of laughter. Melissa's laughter was the most exaggerated of all. She was doubled over, tears streaming from her eyes. See, this is why she's the top salesperson. The sheer thickness of her skin is something ordinary people could never achieve. I ignored her sarcastic remarks and spoke calmly. There's just one thing I need to clarify. Since the company has arranged this benefit of bathroom cleaning for me, that will be my sole responsibility for the next 3 days. I will not be handling any other work-related matters. Melissa was taken aback, clearly not expecting such a strange request. But it was the end of the year. Thanks to my efforts, all sales targets had been exceeded. All that was left was for the clients to finalize their bank payments, for the transactions to be officially complete. For me to step away from sales at this critical moment was like handing her $1 billion performance on a silver platter. Melissa, assuming I had been pushed to my breaking point and lost my mind, agreed without a second thought. Fine by me. If you don't want the responsibility, you don't have to have it. You're not the only salesperson we have. Do you really think this company can't function without you? For the next few days, you just focus on scrubbing toilets. But if I find a single strand of hair on the floor, you can start looking for a new job. I didn't say another word. I just turned and walked away. In the hallway, I pulled out my phone and sent a message to my client group chat. To all my valued clients, I am currently facing a change in my position. For those of you who trust me, I would advise you to temporarily delay your bank payments. Please await further instructions from me. Just after I hit send, a text from Dominic came through. Come to my office. We need to talk. I tossed my phone aside, pretending I hadn't seen it. We met in college. After graduation, at Dominic's persistent pleading, I turned down a 6-figure job to help him build his company from the ground up. He always said that as soon as the company hit $1 billion in revenue, we would get married. I believed his empty promises and poured my heart and soul into the company. All I got in return was neglect and constant put-downs. Melissa had only been with the company for 3 months. Her sales numbers were a fraction of mine. But because Dominic was so impressed with her supposed overseas background and prestigious education, he promoted her to sales manager, completely bypassing me. And me, the top salesperson for 3 years running. My reward was the honor of cleaning toilets for 3 days. Through the sympathetic and gloating stares of my colleagues, I walked to the janitor's closet and changed into a cleaning uniform. As I was carrying a bucket towards the bathrooms, a voice called out from behind me, "Chloe, stop." It was Dominic. He usually pretended not to know me at the office. This was the first time he had ever called out to me, in front of everyone. He strode towards me, his face a thundercloud, and looked down at me with condescension. "I told you to come to my office. Why didn't you?" I didn't offer an explanation. I just said flatly, I was busy with work. I didn't have time to look at my phone. It was the same excuse Dominic always used on me. Hearing it from my lips for the first time seemed to catch him off guard. It was a small thing. Is it really worth throwing such a tantrum over? Once he was sure no one else could hear us, Dominic's tone softened. He sighed. "I know you're upset about the prize Melissa gave you, and I know I should have defended you, but she's the new sales manager, someone I've put a lot of faith in. Her initiatives have brought a huge boost to the company's performance. I couldn't undermine her in front of the entire staff. You have to try to understand my position. You know perfectly well that wasn't a prize. Was pure, unadulterated bullying and humiliation." I cut him off, my voice cold. "And what do you think is responsible for that boost in performance?" Melissa sitting in her office all day, sipping lattes in the air conditioning. If it weren't for me out there, day in and day out, rain or shine, chasing down every single lead, so busy I forget to eat. Do you really think this company would have closed a single deal in this real estate downturn? My aggressive questioning made Dominic's face fall. "Don't be so arrogant, Chloe. You make it sound like you're single-handedly holding up the entire company. Without Melissa's winter warm-up campaign, would we have attracted so many potential buyers? You're clearly benefiting from her work. Don't be ungrateful. It makes you look pathetic. He didn't even give me a chance to respond. Before turning and walking away, if I hadn't heard it with my own ears, I would never have believed such idiotic words could come from the mouth of the man I had loved for over a decade. So-called winter warm-up campaign he was praising consisted of a few tables set up outside the sales office, offering free cups of cheap, instant black coffee and flimsy dollar store gloves to passers-by. The coffee usually went cold without anyone touching it, and the gloves were often found in the nearest trash can. And in Dominic's eyes, this was what was bringing in the real money, and I was the one piggybacking on Melissa's success. In all our years together, to protect Dominic's fragile male ego, I had never boasted about my achievements or complained about my struggles. I thought he had a heart, that if he wasn't a complete idiot, he would eventually see my dedication and hard work. I never imagined he could be so blind, so willing to erase all of my contributions. In that moment, the last lingering trace of affection I had for Dominic vanished. I threw down the mop and rubber gloves. My voice was ice. Fine. If in your eyes, Melissa is the one responsible for all our success, then I quit and we're through. We're done. In all our years together, no matter how angry or disappointed I was, I had never said a harsh word to Dominic, let alone mention breaking up. Hearing those words come from me, he stared at me in disbelief. Chloe, are you insane? Do you know what you're saying? We're only 300 sales away from hitting that billion-dollar target. I promised you, once those final payments come in, we've made it. If you throw a fit now, at this crucial moment, I won't give you a second chance. I didn't want to waste another breath on him. I just walked out of the company. I had just gotten home and taken off my shoes when my phone rang. It was my mother. The moment I answered, her voice sharp and angry, assaulted my ears. Are you crazy? Chloe, did you fight with Dominic? I'm telling you, you go and apologize to him right now. You're a woman. Everything you have today is because of him. Don't be so ungrateful. Her voice grew shriller. Dominic is young and successful. The fact that he's been with you for 12 years is a blessing. If you piss him off now, who do you think is gonna want you? For a woman, marrying a good man is the most important thing in life. Go and be nice to him. Get that ring on your finger. Stop this foolishness. Without Dominic, you're nothing. I held the phone, a bitter laugh rising in my throat. Throughout our relationship, Dominic had always been able to easily went over my mother with small gifts and gestures, a few health supplements, red envelope with some cash during the holidays, and she would treat him like a savior, and then turn around and lecture me about being obedient. He must have given her something good this time, for her to be so eager to play his advocate, without even bothering to ask what had happened. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I just waited until she had exhausted herself, and then I hung up. My phone screen was still lit. I opened my client group chat and typed a message to all my clients. I have decided to resign from my position at Sterling Properties. If you have any future real estate needs, please feel free to contact me directly. Less than a minute after I sent the message, the chat exploded. Chloe, you're leaving? What about the properties we've already put offers on? I only trust you. I don't want to deal with anyone else. Yeah, we chose Sterling because of your expertise. If you leave, we'll follow you. No matter which company you go to, we're with you. Without you, who else at Sterling is going to be so dedicated to helping us? I haven't finalized my paperwork yet. Wherever you go, I'll go. Just tell me what to do. The messages flooded in one after another. No questions, no doubts. Just unconditional trust and support. 12 years of selfless dedication meant nothing to Dominic, but my genuine efforts to help these clients. They remembered every single one. It wasn't that my sincerity was destined to be betrayed. It was that Dominic was never worthy of it in the first place. I wiped away a tear and replied to the group. Thank you all for your understanding and support. Soon as I have determined my next steps, I will let you all know immediately. Reading those heartfelt messages, the knot of tension that had been tightening in my chest all day finally began to loosen. Just then, I received a direct message from an unknown number. The sender identified themselves as a recruiter to Miss Simmons. We have been following your excellent reputation in the industry. We understand you are considering a change, and we would like to extend a sincere invitation for you to join one of our partner firms. Compensation would be double your current salary, and you would have your choice of position. Would you be interested in discussing this further? I replied with a quick "I'll be in touch," and turned off my phone. I didn't sleep a wink that night, but I felt no fatigue the next morning. I arrived at the office on time, ignoring the stares of my colleagues. I walked straight to my desk and began packing my things. Just then, Melissa approached me with a sickeningly sweet smile. Chloe, don't you have a sense of humor? It was just a little joke. Making you clean the bathrooms. Why did you have to go and resign? There's no need to be so dramatic. How about this? I'll give you a little bonus out of my own pocket as compensation. Here, she said, holding out a red envelope. This is for you. A $250 bonus. She emphasized the 250, a number that is a common insult, her smile dripping with malice. The company had had a banner year. Every employee who participated in the annual raffle received a cash prize, with the lowest being over $8,000. And me, a senior employee and the top salesperson, was being offered this pittance, an amount that was a blatant insult. It was the ultimate humiliation. A wave of fury washed over me, and I slapped her hand away. It wasn't a hard slap, certainly not enough to knock someone over. But Melissa let out a dramatic cry and stumbled backward, collapsing in front of my desk, her eyes immediately welling up with tears. Chloe, I was just trying to be nice and give you a bonus. You didn't have to hit me. Seeing her damsel in distress act, Dominic, who had rushed over at the sound of the commotion, grabbed my arm without a second thought. Chloe, my patience with you has its limits. If you don't apologize to Melissa right now, you will never set foot in this company again. I wrenched my arm from his grasp. Dominic, I said, my voice cold, are you suffering from memory loss? I already told you I was quitting yesterday. I'm just here to collect my personal belongings. Dominic's face turned ugly. He stepped in front of me, blocking my path. You can quit, but you're leaving the files for those 300 clients here. I stopped and looked at him, my expression unreadable. Fine. I agreed without hesitation. I bent down, took a neatly organized stack of client files from my box, and placed it on the desk beside me. But I should warn you, those 300 clients came to us because of my reputation and my expertise, not because of sterling properties, and certainly not because of you or Melissa. Dominic laughed as if I had told the funniest joke in the world. Chloe, you're giving yourself way too much credit. Without the sterling platform, who do you think you are? You think you could have closed all those deals without the resources this company provided? Don't flatter yourself. Melissa, standing beside him, chimed in. Exactly. She really thinks she's something special. Once we take over, we'll have no problem keeping those clients. You really think the company will fall apart without you? I didn't bother arguing with them. It was pointless. I straightened the files on the desk, making sure everything was there, then picked up my box and turned to leave. Just as the elevator doors were opening, and I was about to step inside, a panicked voice shouted from behind me, Mr. Keys. Miss Sanders, we have a huge problem. An employee, his face pale, ran up to Dominic stammering the front desk has been flooded with calls. It's all the clients who put in offers. They all want to cancel. We've already counted over 100, and the calls are still coming in. The panic in the employee's voice was like music to my ears. I watched the blood drain from Dominic's face. His mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Melissa stopped her fake crying instantly. She scrambled to her feet, forgetting her act. What do you mean they want to cancel? She shrieked, her voice cracking. That's impossible. Those deals are practically signed. The employee looked terrified, clutching the phone against his chest. They're saying they only agreed to the terms because of Chloe. They're saying if Chloe isn't managing the portfolio, the deal is off. Dominic whipped his head around to look at me. His eyes were wide, filled with a mixture of shock and dawning horror. I simply pressed the button for the lobby. The elevator doors began to slide shut. Chloe, wait. Dominic lunged forward, his hand jamming between the doors. The rubber safety bumpers bounced off his forearm. You did this. You told them to do this, didn't you? This is a breach of contract. I looked at him calmly through the narrowing gap. I didn't tell them to do anything, Dominic. I just told them the truth, that I'm no longer with Sterling Properties. Whatever they choose to do with that information is their business. But you can't leave now. Not like this. Fix this, Chloe. Get on the phone, and tell them you're coming back. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. I offered him a small, pitying smile. I'm afraid I can't do that. I have bathrooms to clean, remember? Or rather, I don't. Because I quit. I pried his fingers off the door. Dominic shouted my name one last time as the door sealed shut. The metal surface reflected my own face. I wasn't crying. I wasn't angry. I looked lighter. The elevator descended smoothly. For the first time in 12 years, the weight of that building wasn't on my shoulders. I walked out of the lobby and into the bright winter sunlight. The cold air bit at my cheeks, but it felt cleansing. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with freedom. My phone buzzed again in my pocket. It was the unknown number from the night before. Mr. Blackwood is available to meet you for lunch at noon. The Ritz-Carlton. Please let us know if this suits your schedule. I checked the time. It was 10:30. I had just enough time to go home, shower off the stench of Sterling Properties, and put on my best suit. I typed back a simple confirmation. When I arrived at the Ritz, a hostess led me immediately to a private table by the window. A man stood up as I approached. He was older than Dominic, perhaps in his early 40s. He had a presence that Dominic tried to fake, but never quite mastered. Genuine confidence. Quiet authority. Chloe Simmons, I presume? He extended a hand. I'm Ethan Blackwood, CEO of Vanguard Estates. I shook his hand firmly. Vanguard was our biggest competitor. They were known for handling ultra-luxury properties. The kind of listings Dominic dreamed of getting but never could. Mr. Blackwood, it's a pleasure. Please call me Ethan. We sat down. He didn't order for me, nor did he talk about himself. He asked me what I wanted. Then he got straight to business. I've been watching your numbers for a long time, Chloe. Your closing rate is statistical anomaly. In a market down 40%, you're up 20. That's not luck. That's grit. I took a sip of water. I work hard for my clients. Ethan nodded. I know. And that's why they're loyal to you. Word on the street is that Sterling is in freefall this morning. Rumor has it their phones are melting down. I allowed myself a small smirk. I wouldn't know. I don't work there anymore. Ethan leaned back, studying me. I know about the bathroom incident. News travels fast in this industry. Dominic Keyes is a fool. He traded a diamond for a cubic zirconia because the fake stone sparkled a little more under cheap lights. I felt a lump form in my throat. To hear someone finally validate what I had been feeling was overwhelming. I'm offering you a position, Chloe. But not as a salesperson. I want you to come on as a senior partner. I froze. Partner? You would have your own team, your own budget, and full autonomy. You bring your clients, we provide the infrastructure. And the split is 60-40. In your favor. It was an offer that was almost too good to be true. But looking into Ethan's eyes, I saw only serious business intent. He knew my value. Why? I asked. Because I want to win, Chloe. And you are a winner. I hired a lawyer that afternoon to review the contract. It was ironclad. I signed it the next morning. Meanwhile, chaos was consuming Sterling Properties. I didn't have to guess. My former colleagues were texting me updates. Apparently, Melissa had tried to take over my calls. She had answered the phone with her sickly sweet voice. But the moment the client started asking detailed questions about escrow and zoning laws, she floundered. She tried to use her winter warm-up charm. But serious investors don't care about free instant coffee. They care about their millions of dollars. One client, Mr. Henderson, apparently screamed so loud he could be heard through the receiver. He demanded to know where I was. When Melissa told him I had been let go for performance issues, he laughed in her face. He pulled his entire portfolio, 5 luxury condos, gone in seconds. Dominic had locked himself in his office. He was frantically calling banks, trying to stop the bleeding. But the banks were nervous too. They saw the mass exodus of clients. They started freezing Sterling's lines of credit. 3 days later, I walked into the Vanguard offices. It was a different world. People were working quietly and efficiently. There was no gossip in the corners. No toxic competition. Ethan greeted me at the door. Welcome home, Chloe. He led me to my office. It was corner suite with a view of the city skyline. On my desk was a fresh bouquet of lilies. And a note. No cleaning required. Just brilliance. I sat in the leather chair and logged into my new system. I sent out a blast to my client list. I have found a new home at Vanguard Estates. I am ready to get back to work. The response was immediate. It was like a dam breaking. Emails flooded in. Contracts were requested. Within the first week, I had transferred over 80% of my former clients to Vanguard. The remaining 20% were stuck in contracts they couldn't break yet. But they promised to move as soon as they could. 2 weeks later, I was leaving the office late. I walked to my car in the underground garage. A figure stepped out from the shadows. I tightened my grip on my keys. Chloe. It was Dominic. He looked terrible. His expensive suit was rumpled. He hadn't shaved in days. There were dark circles under his eyes. Dominic, I said sharply. You're trespassing. He took a step toward me, his hands raised in a gesture of surrender. I just want to talk. Please. I unlocked my car door but didn't get in. You have 2 minutes. He let out a jagged sigh. We're going under, Chloe. The bank called the loan on the new development. Without the client deposits, we have no liquidity. I'm going to lose everything. I stared at him, feeling nothing. Not pity. Not joy. Just a vast, empty indifference. And this concerns me. Why? Chloe, please. I know I messed up. I was an idiot. I let Melissa get in my head. She told me you were holding me back. She said I needed to assert my authority. I see now that she was wrong. I fired her, Chloe. I kicked her out yesterday. She didn't even know how to file a closing statement. She cost me 3 deals in 1 day. He looked at me with pleading eyes. Come back. I'll give you whatever you want. We can get married. Right now. We can go to the courthouse tomorrow. I bought the ring you liked. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a velvet box. He popped it open. Inside was a diamond ring. It was the one I had pointed out in a magazine 5 years ago, back when I was stupid and in love. Now it just looked like a rock. I looked from the ring to his desperate face. You think this is about a ring? You think you can buy me back with a piece of jewelry after you humiliated me in front of the entire company? After you told me my success was due to a woman who buys dollar store gloves? It's not just business, Dominic. You broke my trust. You broke us. And quite frankly, I realized I didn't need you. I never did. You needed me. Chloe, don't say that. We were partners. No, I corrected him. I was your mule. I carried your company on my back while you played CEO. And the moment you thought you found a prettier horse, you tried to send me to the glue factory. I opened my car door. I'm happy at Vanguard, Dominic. I'm making more money than I ever did with you. And I'm treated with respect. Go home. It's over. I got in and slammed the door. He banged on the window as I reversed. Chloe, you can't do this to me. I drove away without looking back. The next month was a whirlwind. Ethan and I worked closely on a massive acquisition. A tech billionaire was looking for a headquarters for his new foundation. It was a $50 million deal. Sterling Properties had been bidding on it for months. It was the billion-dollar target Dominic had been obsessed with. But the billionaire, Mr. Chen, was one of my old contacts. When he heard I had moved, he reached out to me directly. I set up a meeting with Ethan and Mr. Chen. We presented a property that Vanguard had been sitting on. It was perfect. Better than anything Sterling had to offer. Mr. Chen was impressed. But he was a loyal man, and he felt bad about pulling out of the negotiations with Dominic so late in the game. I felt a pang of old loyalty, but I shoved it down. Business is business. The day of the final decision arrived. It was to be announced at the annual Real Estate Association Gala. Everyone would be there. I wore a dress I had bought with my signing bonus. A sleek, emerald green silk gown that fit like a second skin. I had my hair done professionally. I felt powerful. Ethan met me at the entrance. He looked dashing in a tuxedo. You look devastating, he said with a grin. Ready to conquer? Always. We walked into the ballroom. Heads turned. Whispers followed us. There she is. That's the one who took down Sterling. I heard she took half their client list in a week. I held my head high. Across the room I saw Dominic. He was alone. He was holding a glass of scotch with a white knuckle grip. He looked older. Defeated. Then I saw Melissa. She wasn't with him. She was hanging off the arm of a rival developer, an older man known for his sleazy reputation. She caught my eye and glared. I didn't even blink. She was a ghost to me. The ceremony began. Awards were handed out. Vanguard swept the floor. Top sales team. Best luxury portfolio. And then, the moment everyone was waiting for. Mr. Chen took the stage to announce his new partnership. He adjusted the microphone. Choosing a home for my foundation has been a long journey, he began. I require partners who value integrity above all else. People who understand that a building is not just brick and mortar, but a promise. Dominic straightened up in the crowd, a flicker of hope in his eyes. He still thought he had a chance. That is why, Mr. Chen continued, I have decided to award the contract to Vanguard Estates. And specifically, to the team led by Chloe Simmons. The room erupted in applause. Ethan squeezed my hand. Go get him, partner. I walked up the stage stairs. The same kind of stairs I had walked up just a month ago to receive a crumpled piece of paper. This time, I was handed a crystal trophy and a contract worth millions in commission. I stood at the podium. The spotlight blinded me for a second, but I found my focus. I looked out at the sea of faces. I saw Dominic. He had collapsed into his chair, his head in his hands. I saw Melissa, looking jealous and petty. I took a breath. Thank you, Mr. Chen. And thank you to Vanguard Estates for giving me the platform to do what I do best. I paused. A month ago, I was told that my success was luck, that my contributions were invisible, that I was better suited to cleaning bathrooms than closing deals. A ripple of murmurs went through the crowd. They knew. But tonight proved something important. Excellence cannot be silenced. And integrity always wins in the end. I raised the trophy. This is for everyone who does the real work while others take the credit. Your time will come. The applause was deafening. When I left the stage, Dominic was gone. I heard later that he had left through the kitchen exit. The aftermath was swift. Without the Chen deal, Sterling Properties filed for bankruptcy within the quarter. Dominic had leveraged everything on that success. He lost his company. He lost his penthouse. My mother called me a week after the news broke. Her tone was completely different now. Chloe, honey, I saw you in the business section of the paper. My superstar daughter. I always knew you were too good for that loser Dominic. Have you met anyone new? Maybe a nice CEO? I listened to her babble for a minute. Mom, I cut in. I have to go. I have a board meeting. But you'll come for dinner Sunday? We can celebrate. I'll check my schedule, I said non-committally. I realized I didn't need her validation anymore either. One afternoon, about 6 months later, I was walking to a coffee shop near my office. I saw a cleaning crew wiping down the windows of a storefront. One of the figures looked familiar. She was wearing a shapeless gray uniform, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. She was scrubbing furiously at a stubborn stain. Melissa. She turned and saw me. She froze, the squeegee dripping in her hand. She looked tired. The heavy makeup was gone. The arrogance was gone. She looked like she had aged 10 years. I stopped. She waited for me to mock her, to laugh, to tell her she finally found a job suited to her skills. It would have been easy. It would have been poetic justice. But as I looked at her, I felt nothing but a distant pity. She was just a footnote in my story. I nodded once, acknowledging her existence, and kept walking. I didn't need to rub it in. My life was the revenge. I entered the coffee shop and ordered my latte. As I waited, my phone pinged. It was a text from Ethan. Flight to Paris leaves at 6. Packed your bags? We were opening a European division, and he had asked me to lead it. Not as an employee, but as the president of Vanguard Europe. I smiled and typed back. Packed and ready. I took my coffee and walked out into the busy street. The sun was shining. The city was alive. And I had a plane to catch. I thought about the crumpled paper Dominic had forced into my hand that day. Clean the bathrooms. I laughed softly to myself. I had cleaned house, all right. I had scrubbed away the dirt, the grime, and the dead weight. And now, everything was sparkling. The future was bright. And it was entirely mine. Years passed. The memory of sterling properties faded into a cautionary tale told in business schools. Don't alienate your talent. Don't mistake loyalty for stupidity. I settled in Paris for a few years. The market there was different, older, more stubborn. But I spoke the language of value. And that translates everywhere. Ethan visited often. Our relationship had evolved. It started with late nights reviewing contracts. Then dinners that weren't about business. Then weekends in the countryside of Provence. He never tried to own me. He never tried to take credit for my ideas. He simply stood beside me. One evening, under the shadow of the Eiffel Tower, he didn't give me a ring. He gave me a deed. A derelict chateau in the south of France. A renovation project, he said, his eyes twinkling. Something we can build together. If you're interested. I looked at the crumbling stone in the photo. It was a mess. It needed work. It needed vision. I love it, I said. We got married in the gardens of that chateau 2 years later. It wasn't a big production. Just close friends, key clients who had become family, and my mother, who spent the whole time bragging to the waiters. I didn't invite Dominic. I hadn't heard from him in years. But a week after the wedding, I received a letter. The return address was a small apartment complex in a rundown part of the city back home. I debated throwing it out. But curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. The handwriting was shaky. Chloe. I saw the announcement in the trade journal. You look happy. I wanted to write this not to ask for anything, but to admit something. That day on the stage, when everyone was laughing, I wasn't just silent because I was a coward. I was silent because I was jealous. I knew even then that you had outgrown me, that you were the real engine behind Sterling. And instead of celebrating that, I wanted to break you. I wanted to make you feel small so you wouldn't leave. It backfired. I'm working as a property manager now for a rental complex. I unclog drains. I fix leaks. I clean bathrooms. Every time I pick up a mop, I think of you. You were right about everything. I hope you have a good life. Dominic. I folded the letter. I sat on the terrace of my beautiful home, overlooking the vineyards we had planted. Ethan walked out, carrying 2 glasses of wine. Who's that from? He asked, nodding at the paper. Just an old ghost, I said. I struck a match and lit the corner of the envelope. We watched it burn in the ashtray until it was nothing but ash. The wind caught the gray flakes and carried them away over the valley. Ready to go? Ethan asked. We have a meeting with the architects in an hour. I stood up and took his hand. Ready, I said. I didn't look back at the ashes. I never looked back anymore. Because the view in front of me was too beautiful to miss.